66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's too late. Why do guys turn to weird solutions or do nothing when they can turn to medicine and science? The solution is simple. ForHims.com. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. No waiting room, no awkward doctor visits. Save hours by going to ForHims.com. Order now. My listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today right now while supplies last. So see website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to ForHims.com. That's ForHims.com/Stephen A. That's ForHims.com/Stephen A. For Hims/Stephen A.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. I am apologizing for what I'm about to say. I mean, damn, this is the first day in Houston, Texas. And I'm going to start off the show by letting you know, I ain't picking you to win the finals. I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. I don't mean to offend you. Don't mean to turn you off. I'm coming to your city. I'll be there for game one of your playoffs, okay? And I love you. I love James Harden. He's my MVP. CP3 has been my brother for years. Mike D'Antoni is my coach of the year. I ain't picking you to win the NBA finals. I'm just getting it out the way. I'm just getting it out the way right now. I ain't picking you to get to the finals, to be more specific. But we can talk about all of that. Sorry to intro myself to the city of Houston, John Cat. I'm sorry, but I just had to get it out of the way because I wanted to make sure that people understood where I stood. I'm trying to be real with you. I ain't going to lie to you. I'm always going to let you know where I stand. So why sit up there and procrastinate and hide it and wiggle my way around that? Let me just let you know from Jump Street. And I just did it. Another thing, New York, I'll be getting into this. Look, Giancarlo Stanton, look, man, somewhere in your car, you listening right now, probably showing up for batting practice, whatever the case may be. Let me say this to you, Giancarlo Stanton. I'm happy that you're a New York Yankee. I'm happy that you're a New York Yankee. You smacked 59 home runs last year. You won the National League MVP. You are a stud personified. I get it. Damn it, you can't strike out 5 times in one game. You can't do it. You can't do it. It has to stop. It has to stop. You just can't do something like that, man. Okay? You just can't do that. But back to my original point. Stan, I mean, come on. 5 strikeouts in one game again? This is the second time. It's the second time. That can't happen. So we'll be talking about that a little bit later on today right here on the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. But I just got something to say. And I got something to say that's very, very important. I was watching Cleveland, Philadelphia 76ers play Friday night. LeBron James was absolutely sensational. 44 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. Right up until the final few seconds when he was fouled with those three free throws that he needed. He looked a bit shaky before he went to the free throw line. But that's a story for a little bit later on in the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to say this. I have to put this in very official form. Yours truly, your brother, Stephen A. I am officially letting you know that the Philadelphia 76ers will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. They will be one of the Final 4 teams playing for a chance to win the NBA crown this year. Ben Simmons is the truth and a half. The truth and a half. This brother is special. It's just no way around it. I like what I'm seeing from Covington and the TJ McConnell's nice story. Marco Bellinelli, I forgot he was on the team. Okay? By the way, they didn't even have Joel Embiid. They were up on Cleveland by 30 in the first half. 30. Now, obviously, that's a byproduct of Cleveland not being able to play defense half the time. That's a problem. And we all know that LeBron James turned it on in the second half, but he didn't do but so much in the first half. We get all of that. But when I look at this kid, Ben Simmons, ladies and gentlemen, he's 6'10", and handles the ball like a mini guard. This brother's handle is special. His passing skills are sublime. He's got the height and the athleticism and the moves to go with it. His only problem is he can't shoot to save his life. Can't shoot a jump shot. Hasn't he? The man has attempted 7 3-pointers this entire season. Hasn't hit one of them. Shooting 0.00% from 3-point range. He is no perimeter threat. That's a problem. But you know why he's so special? Because you know he's no perimeter threat, and he can still drop a triple-double on you in his sleep, knowing he don't have a jump shot. It is something special that is percolating in the city of Philadelphia. It cannot be denied. It is what it is. I like seeing Allen Iverson in the house because it hasn't been this exciting in the city of brotherly love since he guided them to the finals. I would know this because I covered the team. Every day, every game, I covered that Philadelphia 76ers team that went to the finals against Los Angeles Lakers. I was the one that people were threatening to boycott the Philadelphia Inquirer over because during the broadcast pregame game 1 of the NBA Finals at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California, a reporter that's a friend of mine, Isiah Tomas for NBC, he was there. And he said, Stephen A., and they were excited, and they had this big party going on in Philadelphia, the Irish pubs and all the bars and every place else, the Hooters, let me not leave that out, everywhere in between. Everybody was sitting up there celebrating, looking forward to the Sixers in the NBA Finals. And they said, oh my goodness, the Sixers have arrived with AI, with Eric Snow, with Aaron McKee, with George Lynch, with Dikembe Mutombo, with Tyrone Hill and the crew. They were like, Stephen A., did you see that? Did you see our coverage? The city was hyped and excited. I mean, they were so excited that the cheesesteak spots were empty because people were at the bars. That's how hyped everybody was. Schools were closing. Everybody was hyped. Those continuing education programs kaput. Nobody was going to class. Everybody was looking forward to the Philadelphia 76ers doing their thing, led by Allen Iverson. And then they came to me. And they said, all right, Stephen A., give it to us straight. Do the Sixers have a chance of winning this series? And I looked into that camera and I said, absolutely not. And they were like, what? And I was told back in Philadelphia, people were throwing stuff at the screens. They were throwing food at the screens. There were petitions that were sent into the Philadelphia Inquirer. Folks calling for me to be fired. And Isiah said, Stephen A., what are you talking about? What do you mean we don't have a chance? Wait, how could you say we don't have a chance? I said, very simple. Shaq, and more Shaq. And oh, by the way, when Shaq at that particular moment in time, the most dominant force we had ever seen outside of Wilt Chamberlain in a game of basketball, and everybody brought it up, I said, I didn't even bring up Kobe yet. I said Shaq, and more Shaq. What do you think Shaq is going to do to Dikembe Mutombo? And then Dikembe Mutombo, my buddy, who I love dearly, his humanitarian work in Africa from where he's from, Kinshasa, Zaire, and the list goes on and on. I mean, this man is just a wonderful, wonderful human being and a friend. But he sit there and say, oh, Steve, man, you can't do this to me, Stephen. No, Stephen, you're dissing me, man. I said, Dikembe, I love you. You have no shot against Shaquille O'Neal. He is going to destroy you. I am sorry. I love you and your peoples. You are going to get destroyed. You have no shot. And Dikembe Mutombo said to me, the hook, man, the hook, the sky hook. I said, did you just mention the sky hook? As in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? I said, I'm going to show you how much I love you. I'm not going to tell the public you just said that to me. I won't quote you. I won't quote you for years. Do y'all realize that on the air, this is the first time that I've mentioned the fact that Dikembe Mutombo tried to tell me he had a sky hook comparable to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar? Do y'all realize I just admitted that to y'all on the air? This is 17 years later. I'm telling this story because that's what Dikembe Mutombo said to me. That's what happened. He said it. And I said, I love you, so I'm never going to tell this or the public you said this while you're playing basketball. I won't do it to you. I won't do it. And that was that. And needless to say, They kept asking me and they kept prodding. I said, look, you asked me for honesty. I'm going to give you honesty. Are you saying that AI and the Sixers will get swept? I said, absolutely not. AI will get you one. He's AI. But the schedule says that Game 5 of the NBA Finals is going to be on June 15th, 2001. The Wells Fargo Center at that particular moment in time was called the Wachovia Center. And I said at that particular moment in time, at that juncture, let me be very, very, very clear. The Philadelphia 76ers will have to bow out gracefully because inside the corridors of the Wachovia Center, Allen Iverson and the 76ers will be in their locker room lamenting an opportunity lost, while Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and the rest of the crew will be celebrating their second consecutive NBA crown. It's just going to be that simple. That's what I said. It'll happen June 15th. It'll happen June 15th. I had to look at my phone because that was AI that just texted me. I'm not lying. He's listening. But let me tell you something right now. This is what it is. This is what the truth is. This is how it goes. And that's what I'm telling you right now. This is the most excited the city of Philadelphia should be since that moment in time. This is special. Now, let me deliver the bad news to New York, to LA, and a lot of cities in between. It's a pretty bad day for most cities because New York has stunk for quite some time. I mean, my Lord, it's gotten so bad that I mean, it's getting to the point where they might not allow James Dolan to play his guitar in public. I'm serious. It's getting that bad. It's getting that bad. People getting tired of this. People getting tired of this. This has been long enough. Now, the Sixers, I have never been a proponent of the process. I think it's a disgrace that you should be allowed to lose for 3 consecutive years on purpose, telling your fan base you ain't trying to win and still get away with it, keeping your job. This free agency, this creating salary cap space, this draft, there's a whole bunch of things that you could have done. But nevertheless, I can't deny the fact Joel Embiid is here. Ben Simmons is here. This kid, Markelle Fultz, might need to shut his trap instead of calling out the Philadelphia media or ignoring them because you don't want the Philadelphia media against you. But this young brother can play. TJ McCollum, that kid can play. JJ Redick looking every bit worth that $23 million he's getting for 1 year. His experience, his marksmanship, he can play. They got Bellinelli, who used to play with San Antonio. He can play. They got Covington. He can shoot. He can play. There's depth on the Philadelphia 76ers. Where the hell is the depth for the Knicks? Could you get 2 players? Pretty please with Sugar on top, please. Could you do that? No. The Lakers got a young squad. They look nice. But we all know what time it is, Magic Johnson. You got to get some players. Magic Johnson, let me tell you something right now. The fact that he drafted Kyle Kuzma, he's good. Draft-wise. Lonzo Ball is decent, but the number 2 overall pick, I need more. I need more aggression. I need more assertiveness. I don't need you walking past half court, passing the ball, and then going in the corner, eat some damn popcorn. I need you on the court balling. You're the number 2 overall pick, especially when Jason Tatum was picked number 3 by Boston. You can't just be average. You're number 2 overall. You got to be box office, which he has not been. I mean, technically he's been, but not because of his play. It's because of curiosity. I'm talking about because of his play. So you got a situation right now where the Lakers, with Randall, with Lonzo Ball, with Kuzma, with Brandon Ingram. Bottom line is Magic Johnson's got to go out and get 2 superstars. LeBron James and Paul George. And if you don't get one of them, you better get at least one of them. But if you don't get the other, then in 2019, you got to get Klay Thompson from the Golden State Warriors. He'll leave. Come to L.A. for an up-and-coming team already with at least 2 championships on his resume. Plus, he's young. Let's face reality. Most youngsters would rather be in Southern California than in Northern California. It's just the truth. I'm telling you what I know. Y'all figure out how. So this is what it comes down to. This is what it is. And somewhere along the lines, people are going to have to recognize that this is what it's about. So when you look at it from that perspective, and you take all of those things into account, what we're seeing from the Philadelphia 76ers is special. But it does shine a spotlight on what New York is lacking, what LA needs to do. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that's what this comes down to. There's no way around this. There's no way to refute what I'm talking about. And this is our first day, the Stephen A. Smith Show. This is our first day in Houston, Texas. Let me say this about the Rockets. James Harden is the MVP. Don't listen to what all these other fools telling y'all about LeBron or somebody else. James Harden's MVP. James Harden is the MVP. Mike D'Antoni's my coach of the year. I think CP3, if he wasn't injured so much, is an MVP candidate. Because his leadership and his abilities on the court cannot be denied. And I'll go so far as to say a guy like Doc Rivers, this is not a good time for him right now. Clippers eliminated from the playoffs. We're talking about CP3 and Houston, but now JJ Redick is doing his thing in Philly. We talked so much about CP3's departure, we forgot about JJ Redick. All of that's true. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. Right now, I'm looking at the Houston Rockets, and you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing pressure. James Harden has to produce. There's more pressure on him than anybody because of how last year's playoffs ended and how before that we hadn't seen him in the finals since he was a reserve at Oklahoma City. CP3, the great CP3, and he is great. He really is special. CP3 has never played in the conference finals. Ever. Mike D'Antoni, a wizard with NBA offenses. A wizard. That's why he's the head coach. I had practically given up on him after the job he did in LA and New York. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike D'Antoni has done a hell of a job with Houston. A hell of a job. 55 wins last year, over at least 63 this year. The man has done a tremendous job. He's my coach of the year. Daryl Morey, my executive of the year. Between him and Danny Ainge, without question. What does it mean if Houston gets bounced out? Do y'all realize that right now? No, John, I don't think y'all have realized this. Do y'all realize that right now as we sit here and talk about the Houston Rockets, they have no excuse to lose to anybody but Golden State? Do y'all realize that? If they lose to anyone else, this season is an abject failure. If the playoffs were to begin today, they'd go against Utah or Denver. Both tied with 45 and 35 records. One of them going to be the 8th seed. Unless San Antonio, New Orleans, or is it Minnesota? I think Minnesota's the 8th seed. I apologize. Minnesota's the 8th seed. So all I'm saying is, when you look at it for what it's worth, what are we talking about here? What we have to look at is this for Minnesota's the 8th seed. I'm sorry. They're tied with Denver with a 45 and 35 record. One of them will be the 8th seed. Oklahoma City, San Antonio, New Orleans are a game above them. One of them could fall to the 8th seed, but conceivably one of them would be the 7th seed. If the playoffs were to begin today, Golden State would go against Oklahoma City. Russell Westbrook up against Golden State and Kevin Durant without Steph Curry. Oh, my Lord. How much y'all want to make a bet suddenly Steph Curry gets healthy if that series takes place? How much you want to make a bet that Steph Curry won't sit out that entire series? The only thing comparable in terms of pressure, the only thing comparable to James Harden being under that microscope of pressure is Kevin Durant. Now listen to me, y'all. Listen to this good. Who would be under more pressure? I'm challenging my listeners out there, even the ones in Houston. Who would be under more pressure? James Harden or Kevin Durant against Oklahoma City since he doesn't have Steph Curry for the first round, according to Coach Steve Kerr. Now, that's an interesting debate. The one with the most pressure, James Harden or Kevin Durant against OKC without Steph Curry. Because remember, you left OKC to go to Golden State because you loved this system. Now, we all know it's because of the players, too. But you loved this system. Well, guess what? Just because Steph Curry is gone doesn't mean the system completely changes. Which means that if you Kevin Durant, with or without Steph Curry, you should have enough of what you want and what you felt you needed to be able to beat most teams. Damn sure as much to beat Oklahoma City. Ladies and gentlemen, this is special. This is getting interesting. And I absolutely, positively love this. Make no mistake about it. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage of America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. I'm going to ask the question one more time. Who's under the most pressure? James Harden, considering how the last year's playoffs ended for him, or Kevin Durant, who doesn't have Steph Curry, isn't expected to have Steph Curry for the first round. But if the playoffs were to begin today, he'd have to go against his old OKC teammate, Russell Westbrook, without him. Who's under the most pressure? I'm just asking. 888-SAY-ESPN. Welcome aboard, Houston and San Antonio. Joining the 250-plus markets across America that I already have at my disposal. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show. ESPN Radio.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie, this does look fun. Whee-oh, you melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Hour number 2, I'm expecting to have an NCAA national champion, a 2-time NBA champion, one of the greatest guards in the history of basketball, and a Hall of Famer, the one and only Isiah Tomas, is expected to be on with us to start off hour number 2 right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. A couple other things I want to remind everybody I brought up. Giancarlo Stanton striking out 5 times in the game for the second time. This man, Ohtani, for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Let me say this. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I am stunned. I am shocked beyond comprehension. This brother done smacked about 3 home runs already this year. All right. You got guys throwing him curveballs and sinkers with men on base, usually with a pitcher. They're just trying to throw fastballs right by you because you usually can't hit. They can't do that with him. Not only do you have that as an issue and a dilemma, but take into account the fact that this dude, what I just mentioned, that was him batting. The dude still pitches. 3rd in the national, in a Major League Baseball with velocity with a fastball that goes at 101 miles per hour. He's got a splitter that's nasty. He got a breaking ball. Pitched the other night. He retired the first 19 batters he faced. Had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning. I mean, my God. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I got to give credit where credit is due. It is absolutely, positively shocking what I'm seeing. Can't deny it. It's special. Something else we got to talk about. By the way, I haven't been on the air to talk about what happened with Conor McGregor. I was off the air. Last Thursday and Friday, we had some vacation days because there was no First Take. You know, First Take's my television show on ESPN every weekday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. And we have vacation days, so I took those couple of days off from everything as well. get a little rest and relaxation, and now I'm back in the saddle, getting set for the NBA playoffs. But let me be very, very clear about where I'm at and where I'm going with all of this. I got a lot to say about Conor McGregor. But I will tell you what I said when the incident first took place. And I'll tell you how it was modified a little bit once I saw Floyd Money Mayweather on Showtime this past Saturday night. Stay tuned for that conversation a little bit later on in the show. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Chris in L.A. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Stephen A. Long time no talk. Hope on as well.
I'm good. Talk to me.
Well, yes, sir. To answer your question regarding who has more pressure between James Harden and Kevin Durant, me personally, I think it's Kevin Durant for the simple fact that they have won a championship without him. So with no Steph, they would expect them to at least, get out of the first round without Steph. The foundation is built. Houston, even though James didn't play well last year in Game 6 against San Antonio, they still have something to prove. So I think Kevin Durant has more.
So you think Kevin Durant, so let me get this straight, Chris. You think Kevin Durant, with a championship and an NBA Finals MVP on his resume, has more to prove than James Harden, who's never been to the finals without Kevin Durant, and who some folks says has come up short on numerous occasions in the postseason?
That is correct for two reasons. Number one, you said without Steph Curry, you expect them to still be able to do what they do because they're going to move the ball. They're still going to – there's no Steph. Steph's able to win without KD. We expect the same from Kevin Durant. And number two, they're built and they won a championship, but nobody still expects Houston to win a championship. Like you still favor Golden State, right?
All right. Yep. So you know what? You're wrong, but I'm going to tell you why at the bottom of the hour. I'm not going to reveal why y'all are wrong now, but I appreciate the call, Chris. Thank you. Mixon in the Bronx. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. Talk to me.
I wish we were talking about the Knicks and that, but that's another story. Let's talk about the Yankees. Everybody needs to relax. We're 10 games in. Mm-hmm. The bats are going to wake up. We're going to be talking. What happened yesterday was abnormally. That's not going to be what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the season. Chances are, we're going to be talking about these guys, and they're going to be producing. We're going to win 2 out of 3 in Boston, and this guy,
Let me ask a simple question. Let me ask a simple question to you, Mixon. You're not the slightest bit concerned that Giancarlo Stanton has struck out 5 times in one game twice this season?
Well, you know what? He averaged between 150 to 170 strikeouts a year when he was with the Marlins. Does it
last year was 163 strikeouts, A, and B, they actually intentionally walked Aaron Judge to get to Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah.
That doesn't concern you at all.
What's more troubling to me is the bullpen.
Well, I know that. I'm not surprised. I'm not happy with anything I'm seeing. Don't get me started with Betances. I don't know what the hell's going on.
But like I said, the bats are going to come alive, and you know what? It'll be something where we'll laugh about it at the end of the year when we're in the playoffs, and just everybody needs to calm down, relax. We're 10 games in, and that's that.
All right, I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, speaking of basketball, to win in basketball, even though we want to just talk about basketball, we talk about the Yankees, talk about relaxing, but we were talking about basketball prior to that when Chris in L.A. called us. To win in basketball, you got to play great coverage, right? And with Straight Talk Wireless, you're getting great coverage because they use the exact same 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I asked the question earlier. I'll ask it again. Who's under more pressure as these playoffs rapidly approach? Is it James Harden? For the Houston Rockets, number 1 seed, about to win league MVP honors, and all of that stuff in between, residue from his performance in last year's Game 6 of the Western Conference semifinals against San Antonio. That kind of pressure. Is he under pressure to produce this postseason? More so than Kevin Durant, who, if the playoffs were to begin today, would be going up against OKC and his former teammate Russell Westbrook without the services of Steph Curry at his disposal. Who would be under more pressure? That is the question that I'm asking. Plus, I brought up Ohtani for the Angels. I brought up Stanton for the Yankees. I mentioned McGregor and Mayweather, and I'll get more into that as the show progresses today. Stick around. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! If you're wondering why I haven't mentioned much about the Masters, it's why. Here's why. I'm a typical golf fan. I don't care much about it unless Tiger's playing. The avid golf fan, sure. They watch from start to finish. And I watched. I watched Patrick Reed do his thing. He deserved it. I mean, Spieth and what he did, almost breaking the record. I mean, if he hadn't bogeyed the last hole, I mean, hey. You talk about a man that would have shot a 63? Been a course record. Would have been special. I saw all of that. But let's face reality. I was like the typical, not the avid, but the typical layman golf fan. I really want to see what Tiger did. I'm a sucker. What can I say? I really want to see what Tiger did. Finished 32nd. Everybody cheer that. Bravo. Bravo. It's so touching. He finished 32nd. Couldn't putt to save his life at times. Don't get me started with his mid-range game. Struggled off the tee. I mean, par fives, don't get me started with that either over the first 3 days. He wasn't great. And I keep telling y'all what the deal is. Tiger Woods is done. Now, what does that mean? I'm not saying he's not great. I'm saying that he's not as great as he used to be, and he needs to be as great as he used to be to beat some of these young whippersnappers, because these brothers are no joke. And see, this is the one thing that I pay attention to covering the sport of basketball that people don't give enough credit to. When you are that potent offensively, people do not realize that sometimes it affects the opposition's offense because it makes them tight, because they know they can't afford to make a mistake. Otherwise, you'll make them pay. That's what usually happens. That's what used to happen with the Tiger Woods opponents. That doesn't happen now. Him having a decent play on the last day of the Masters when you're clearly out of the picture and you don't have a snowball's chance in hell of winning. What does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? What does that matter? It doesn't matter then, because they know he's out of the mix, so he's not intimidating anybody. And that's what y'all are missing. That's what's going on here. There is no way around that. Tiger Woods ranked 88th in the world. 88th. Let's not waste my time with this subject anymore. I feel the way that I feel. I'm a snob when it comes to Tiger Woods. If he ain't winning, he ain't winning. It's just that simple. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's get back to the phones. Let's go to Mike in Jersey. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Stephen A. 2 quick points, if you allow me, please. First point, I think Kevin Durant has the most pressure. Reason why is Kevin Durant is considered number 2 to LeBron to many people. And for the team that he's on, and for them not to be able to win without Steph Curry, and he's number 2 in the league, I just think it's unacceptable.
Okay, go ahead.
The second point with the Yankees, Juan Carlos Stanton. He's a California kid coming out of Miami. He's playing in New York. It's very cold right now. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and hopefully when the weather warms up, he starts warming up and heating up, and he's back to his normal form.
Listen, how do you feel about 5 strikeouts in one game, man? Twice this season.
I understand the 5 strikeouts. It's either, home run or strikeout with him, I believe. But, I'm just really putting it on the weather right now. He looks uncomfortable. He's bundled up. You can just tell he's not comfortable as of right now.
All right. I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Let's go to Augie in Long Island. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Augie? Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm all right. Thank you for calling. What's up?
All right. 2 quick points, and I'm very adamant about this. Are we just giving James Harden the MVP this year and not realizing that LeBron is leading every single category?
I don't care about that.
Why?
Because LeBron James isn't winning in the category that matters most, which is wins and losses. Not that that's the ultimate factor, because it is not. But the roller coaster ride that Cleveland has been on this year, LeBron James is directly responsible for. Not solely responsible for, but directly responsible for. He has a lot to do with their struggles.
All right. My second point I just want to make really quick, and you guys better believe Los Angeles Angels just gained a new fan right here watching Ohtani pitch. That was something yesterday. I got to hand it to them.
It was something special. It was something special. Ohtani can do it, man. Ohtani's special. I appreciate the call, though, man. Thank you so much. James in Texas, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, James, go ahead.
Hey, Stephen A. Love your show.
Appreciate it.
I think it's close between who has more pressure, Durant or Harden.
Mm-hmm.
I think Durant has a little more pressure on him because he's never won without Steph. He's the second best player in the world next to LeBron. And with 2 other All-Stars out there with him, if he don't get it done, then you got to have Steph Curry out there, or he needs to get it done.
I got you. I understand, and I appreciate the call. Let me tell you something right now. The right answer to this question is more pressure is on Kevin Durant if he's without Steph Curry against Russell Westbrook. If he has Steph Curry or he's not going against Russell Westbrook, it's not as much pressure. But if he got to go against Russell Westbrook without Steph, it's all on Kevin Durant. The great Isiah Tomas up next. Hour number 2 with Stephen A.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
66% of men lose their hair by age 35. Thing is, when you start to notice hair loss, it's too late. Why do guys turn to weird solutions or do nothing when they can turn to medicine and science? The solution is simple. ForHims.com. Thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims connects you with real doctors and medical-grade solutions to treat hair loss. No waiting room, no awkward doctor visits. Save hours by going to forhims.com. Order now. My listeners get a trial month of Hims for just $5 today right now while supplies last. So see website for full details. This would cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or a pharmacy. Go to forhims.com. That's FORHIMS.com/Stephen A. That's FORHIMS.com/Stephen A. For Hims/Stephen A.
Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show, here with you on ESPN Radio, 250 plus markets across the United States of America, plus Sirius XM. Channel 80. Welcome to City of Houston, City of San Antonio, added to the Stephen A. Smith Show. I appreciate the love and support, no doubt about it. It is my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line. An NCAA champion, a 2-time NBA champion, one of the greatest guards in the history of basketball, a Hall of Famer, and now doing an exceptional job as an NBA analyst on NBA TV, on TNT. That's the one thing I can take credit for. I damn sure can't take credit for how great he was as a player. But I could steal a little credit from my man right here for his analysis about the game of basketball. He's reached out to a brother for a tip or two in terms of television. I'm talking about the great one himself, Isiah Tomas. What's going on, man? How you doing?
I am doing great, and thanks for that introduction. And yes, I have reached out not only for a tip or two, but I have enjoyed you mentoring me in this spot, my friend. So thank you so much. And by the way, congratulations on Prime Time First Take. What is that all about?
I don't know.
What is that all about?
Look, man, I don't know what they're doing, man. I don't know. Listen, I got to check with ESPN, Zeke, because I got to tell you something right now. I don't know how wise they are to put me on primetime television. I don't know how wise that is, Zeke. I just don't know. But we're going to go with it. Okay?
Oh. Congratulations.
I appreciate it.
That's a first in history, right?
That's right. Isiah Tomas is alluding to the primetime special coming on ESPN this Friday. We'll be doing the show live, primetime, to discuss the NBA playoffs, and that's why I have one of the greatest players in the history of the game on with me right now. Isiah, I watched the Philadelphia 76ers Friday night go up by 30 on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, they almost blew it. They almost blew it because LeBron is LeBron. 44, 11, and 11 was absolutely spectacular in that second half. But how real are these Philadelphia 76ers in your eyes?
Oh, they're very real. And I said this early on, that to me, they are the most dangerous team in the East playing right now because they have the two most unique players, on one team that's playing together. And I made the analogy to when Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal joined forces in Orlando. That's what I'm seeing right now in Philadelphia in terms of, Ben Simmons is the closest thing to Magic Johnson that I've seen coming to the NBA. And then because Embiid is so unique as a big man, he can shoot the three, but he also has an exceptional low post game. And in the NBA right now, there are no more low post defenders. And now when you have a post player, you have two post players in terms of Simmons and Embiid that can play in the low post. Hey, man, they're gonna give teams fits in the playoffs.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up because I guess for me, Zeke, the question that I would ask you is this, because I have this one question, and I was talking to my man, AI, and he told me to tell you what's up, by the way, because he was just texting me about a half hour ago to brag about his Sixers, okay? This is the one thing that I have a concern about when it comes to Ben Simmons. I love him. His game is surreal. He's big time. My one complaint about him, he has no perimeter game whatsoever. He doesn't even attempt 3-point shots. He's only attempted like 7 on the year. Okay. And on top of it all, he's not a threat from the perimeter. He can average a triple-double still, which speaks to his greatness, no doubt. But I wish he had a perimeter shot. You ain't concerned about that come playoff time?
That I swear to you, Stephen A., it's like deja vu because these are the conversations that I was having with Magic, his first couple of years in the league. Remember, he didn't have a jump shot, right? And everyone was questioning, could he continue to be successful without a jump shot? What Magic Johnson did was he worked and he got better. And I look at Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a worker. He's going to work. He's going to get better from the foul line. He's going to get better from the 3-point line. And all those things are going to come. But while he's working, the young fella is getting a triple-double every night, just like Magic Johnson was. So it's like, what? Who does that? And who's able to do that? I mean, I look at them, and by the way, I'm coming to Philly Wednesday night because I want to see it live, up close, in person. I've been watching on television, but I want to see how these young guys are playing, how they blending, and how they're making it all work. And the one thing, I did speak to Ben Simmons when he came down to TNT, and I asked him, the thing that stood out to me the most is that he said he and Embiid have already started having conversations about how to stay together and not get broken up like a Shaq or a Kobe or
That's
like
special. That's special.
I mean, this is how intelligent these young guys are right now. They are learning
and
from
selfless.
the history.
And selfless,
Yes,
Isaiah, because guess what? They're
beautiful.
saying, look, man, we're trying to win. We don't give a damn about all of this other stuff, individuality and establishing legacy. We trying to win first. That's what they're saying.
Yes. But how unique is that, Stephen A? I mean, I've never heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never heard two young players at this age talk about how they're going to stay together and not get broken apart.
Never at all. Isiah Tomas right here, the great Isiah Tomas right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Having said all of that, I still am not betting against LeBron in the East.
No, we didn't say that. We didn't say any of that.
All right, so what I'm saying to you is this. You saw Cleveland down by 30 in the first half. You've seen the up and down roller coaster ride that they've had this year. What's the issue? What's the problem with Cleveland?
They haven't been healthy, and not only have they not been healthy, but some of their most energetic players have been missing. I mean, you can't underestimate how valuable a Tristan Thompson has been to their run and to their success over the last couple of years. And he being away from the team has taken a lot away from that team. I think he coming back along with a healthy Kevin Love. And then when you add all the other players that they've come along with, that they've got in the trade, I do think they're young enough, they're energetic enough, and they can go out and defend and execute a game plan, I believe, better still than anybody in the East will be able to. So I'm picking Cleveland to come out of the East.
How depressing has it been for you to see that Kyrie Irving is out for these playoffs, considering the year Boston has had despite losing Gordon Hayward on opening night?
I'm really, I would say I'm hurt more than anything because, you know, I've watched him when he first went to Duke and he had the foot injury. And then he gets to Cleveland and he has all the ups and downs. And then he gets to the finals and then he has the knee injury in the finals. Then he comes back, they win it, and now he's at this stage again where he's injured. You know, the perseverance that he's had in terms of dealing with all these injuries and these setbacks, you know, has been impressive to me just to watch him continue to overcome the personal setbacks. However, where he's at with Boston now, what he was getting ready to prove in terms of having his own team, doing it in Boston, not being expected to come out of the East, and then having the showdown probably in the Eastern Conference Finals with a LeBron James, you know, that was all going to be must-see TV. So I'm disappointed that he's not going to have that opportunity to do that. But I'm confident that he'll be able to persevere and come back and be just as great as he was this year, next year.
Why are none of us really gung-ho about the Toronto Raptors, considering the great coach that they have in Dwayne Casey, the way Masai Ujiri has built that team, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, and those boys with Ibaka and Valanciunas being on the squad, best record in the Eastern Conference. Why are we not excited about Toronto?
You know, early I picked Toronto to come out of the East. Mm-hmm. What I just witnessed in LeBron James the last 2 weeks has made me change my mind. Because I didn't know if LeBron James could go to another level of play.
Neither did I.
But damn.
Neither did I. I'm not going to lie to you, Zeke. I mean, 33 years of age, 15th year in the NBA. And you know, I don't know if I've been impressed more with LeBron than ever before than what I saw Friday night, because to be in that city, to know that Ben Simmons is the heir apparent, basically, to know how hyped the city of Philadelphia is with AI sitting courtside, etc. And Ben Simmons and the Sixers blowing them out by 30, for him to respond back the way that he did That was something special to behold. That was old school greatness, as I would call it, right there. Is that what you took from it?
Yes, and still having a sense of pride. I mean, Stephen A., on that night, 81 out of 81 times, the team quits. Yeah. The other team say, we down 30, and especially the superstar. The superstar is like, okay, I've won championships in this league. Everybody knows who I am. I'm going to pack it up. This is a rest night for me. Right, we down 30. This game's over. I'm gonna play with the fans and everything else. To see him rise up and say, "No, I still got pride. I'm not going out like this. We're not losing like this." And then to come back from down 30 to almost make it, a winnable game. That's why I'm saying the dude still has a lot left in the tank and can take his game to another level. So. Toronto right now, you asked the question, why are we not sold on them, is because LeBron James is still in the East. And also Toronto they still have to overcome the confidence problem.
Yep.
When they get into the NBA, when they get into the playoffs, they haven't been able to overcome those hurdles. Just like, we and I go back to my Detroit Pistons days, we had to overcome, the Boston Celtics. We had to get more confident. We had to get better. We had to keep learning as we went on along the way. The Chicago Bulls had to do the same thing. Okay, when you look at the Toronto Raptors, you ask, and there is serious doubt, can they overcome that problem of failure, and have they learned from their failures in the playoffs? We don't know yet.
The great Isiah Tomas, two-time champion, NBA Hall of Fame, one of the greatest guards in the history of the National Basketball Association. He's right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. I'll get to you about the Western Conference, particularly the Houston Rockets, in just a minute. But I want to ask you about this. You made news last week, or shall I say Scottie Pippen made news, by feeling the need to call you out because you had the temerity, the unmitigated gall, as I would say, to sit up there and say you would take LeBron over MJ. At least that's the way Scottie Pippen interpreted it. Now, before you speak about this, I must admit, Scottie Pippen's got some explaining to do, because he sounded completely hypocritical considering the fact that he came on my show on television, First Take, just months ago, basically saying the same thing you said. But I'll let you take it away. Explain yourself about the LeBron and MJ comparisons real quick. What were your thoughts?
Well, I think Scottie and I basically said the same thing. And even in his explanation and trying to explain himself, we both agree that MJ was the greatest scorer. I mean, there's no arguing about that. He is a better scorer than LeBron James. But in terms of an overall better basketball player, LeBron James is the overall better basketball player. And I'll quote Scottie in terms of rebounds, assists,
right,
facilitating. I mean, LeBron James does more of that than Michael Jordan had to. Now, Kareem wrote an article, several years back, and I'll quote him, and he said in his article that he wrote on, I think ESPN published it, how soon we forget, because Kareem wanted to remind everybody that he still is the greatest scorer that basketball has ever seen, because he's number one in the category. So
I got you.
I say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, in my opinion, is the GOAT because of the research that I've done to back it up. Not only from the participation in the sport, the observation in the sport, but now I've gone back and I've looked at numbers and, I've gotten analytical about it and I put some research behind it. And I took all my emotion out of it.
Gotcha.
When I look at who's the best basketball player and who's had the greatest basketball career, there's no doubt about it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is that.
Well, no question about it.
The debate between Jordan and LeBron is, I think LeBron is the better overall basketball player.
Well, I will say this.
Overall better basketball.
I will say this, Zeke. I don't disagree with you in terms of his talent. what I would say is obviously MJ was a greater scorer, but to me, the reason why I would pick MJ over him any day is because when it's time to close the deal, I have no doubt as to what MJ is going to do. I've religiously said I'd pick LeBron James over any play in NBA history for the first 46 minutes, but there's several people I'd pick over him in the last 2. And that's my mentality, and that's the way I look at it.
Oh yeah, for the last shot, I mean, and all that, yeah. I mean, then now you're talking a totally different thing.
Got it.
Right? You're talking a totally different thing because now you got to put a lot of people in that category. You got to put some people in that category that will never, ever be considered as the greatest basketball player. Now you're talking about who's the clutch shooter that you want to take that last shot at the end of the game. Okay, well, yeah. You know, but we're not talking about in terms of overall basketball player. We're just talking about one specific moment.
Okay. I was talking the last 2 minutes, but I do get your point. We're talking to the great Isiah Tomas right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. By the way, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Home Insurance. Getting a quote is easier than ever before. Let's transition to the West. James Harden is my MVP. I don't think there's anything to discuss. It's not about him or LeBron being the best in the world. It's about the kind of season one has had. 15 games better in the win column. Model of consistency throughout the season. No roller coaster ride in Houston that existed in Cleveland all year long. I got to mention Anthony Davis in the same conversation, but he comes up short because James Harden has been that surreal. Where do you stand on that?
I would have to pick James Harden now, but I do feel bad for James Harden because James Harden over the last 3 years, okay, he's probably been the MVP of the league the last 3 years, if not for Steph Curry having an unreal season, right? And then you follow that up with Westbrook, who came back and had some unreal season. And now LeBron James is having some unreal season. James Harden has got to be sitting there saying, damn, what do I have to do to be the MVP of this league? Because the way guys have been playing now, we're going to look back 20 years from now, and we may arguably say that this is the best era of basketball that we've seen. Because what Harden has done the last 3 years, and then you say, okay, Westbrook had a triple-double season to unseat him. Then Steph Curry had to do like the crazy three-point thing to unseat him. Now LeBron James is doing the crazy, I'm 33, but I'm acting like I'm 22 season.
Right.
Harden is sitting there saying, damn, what do I have to do to be the MVP? But he is the MVP, in my opinion.
Let me put you on the spot, Zeke. Who has more pressure on them as these playoffs are about set to begin? Is it James Harden, who didn't show up in Game 6 last year against the San Antonio Spurs? An imposter was wearing his uniform. That wasn't the James Harden I know and love, okay? Is it CP3, who's never been to a conference finals? Is it Kevin Durant, who, if the playoffs were to begin today, would be going against Russell Westbrook in OKC without Steph Curry? Who has the most pressure on them under those circumstances I just painted for you?
I would say those three have the most pressure in the playoffs. And those three and their teams are clearly the most vulnerable to get knocked off in the first round.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking you, of the three, which one? Of the three, which one has the most pressure? Which one?
I would probably say right now Durant has the most pressure because he's facing OKC, which is the team that he left. Now, OKC comes in with Westbrook, with George, and with Carmelo Anthony. And now Durant has to face his old team without Steph Curry, being at his side. So I'm looking at OKC has all of the revenge factor,
right, to
unseat Golden State. And Golden State right now, they're not playing their best basketball. So this is a tricky series for Kevin Durant because emotionally his emotions probably will be all over the place because you're going back home, you're playing OKC, so forth and so on. Then you got the Westbrook factor, in terms of their relationship.
Right.
And you don't have your right-hand man in terms of Steph Curry.
I got to let you go. Even though you're a little bit older than me, you're a puppy in this business of television, sir. But you're making me proud. You're doing a great, great job. I'm going to keep watching you on NBA TV, especially when you're with my brother Sam Mitchell. I'm going to keep watching you on TNT. By the way, they better have you on more during the finals of this year's NBA final. I'm telling you that right now. I want to see more of the two-time NBA champion that is Isiah Tomas. Appreciate, love you, bro. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Love you too, and thank you, Coach.
No. Take it easy, man. The one and only Isiah Tomas right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, Weston, as in Weston Hotels, knows how disruptive travel can be for your well-being, but with rejuvenating heavenly beds, a nutritious superfoods RX menu, and gear lending for when you leave your workout gear at home, Weston will help you stay in control and rise above it all. Weston. Let's rise! Learn more at Weston.com. Back to your calls and more in a moment. You're listening live to Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie, this does look fun. Whee-oh! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Thanks again to the great Isiah Tomas. I know some people look at him and, the Knicks job. That wasn't good. Oh, Toronto ownership. Oh, Stephen A. He's a two-time NBA champion. He's an NCAA champion. He's one of arguably the greatest little guard in the history of basketball. He's one of the 50 greatest players in NBA history. And he's a Hall of Famer. What's there to talk about? By the way, he ain't never been a dummy. Ain't never been accused of being a dummy in his life. Isiah Tomas. An honor to have him on my show anytime, whatever show I elect to do when it comes to talking about the game of basketball, not to mention the business of basketball as well. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Once again, I want to say thank you to the stations in San Antonio, Texas and Houston, Texas, for welcoming the Stephen A. Smith Show to your lineup. I'm incredibly honored and grateful to be in your markets. I thank you sincerely for bringing me on board, and I will try to do all I can every single day that I can to be the best radio host I can possibly be for you. With that being said, I've discussed the Houston Rockets. I've discussed the pressure on James Harden. I've discussed how that pales in comparison to Kevin Durant if he has to go up against OKC without Steph Curry. What I didn't talk about was San Antonio. We all know it's a first-class organization. Peter Holt is a great owner. R.C. Buford is an outstanding executive. And Greg Popovich is just an incredible coach and somebody I affectionately call one of the biggest phonies you could ever find. And I say biggest phony because, ladies and gentlemen, this cantankerous, acerbic personality that he constantly gives off, particularly to the media, he's one of the nicest, most decent human beings you'll ever find. He's a good man. He's not just a great coach. He's a fantastic human being. And I bring that up and I say that not knowing him too intimately personally, even though we've had conversations and he has always been kind to me. But I know people who know him, love him, and swear by him. And I respect and trust their judgment. I bring that up because this whole Kawhi Leonard situation that has escalated or regressed, whatever word you choose to use, is incredibly unfortunate that the San Antonio Spurs organization is associated with this. Kawhi Leonard is a good kid, good young man. Doesn't do anything to bring attention to himself. Doesn't seem to have any negative intentions or whatever the case may be, but does seem to be a slightly different breed than the Tim Duncans, David Robinsons of the world. He obviously has an inner circle, including his uncle and others who have exercised some degree of influence, and as a result, he hasn't been back. He's only played 9 games this year. And yet Popovich and these guys have still won 45 games, 46 games this year. I think it's phenomenal. It's the first time in about 19, 20 years that Greg Popovich and San Antonio Spurs will fail to win at least 50 games. But if you don't have Kawhi Leonard, what do you expect? So it's a testament to his greatness as a coach and as a leader that they've had the successful year that they have had. Having said all of that, I'm worried about San Antonio. Because as great as Greg Popovich is, as great as the city is, and I may tease about the Riverwalk, but damn it, I like it. I just got tired of being there every year. But I like the Riverwalk. San Antonio is just an hour from Austin, Texas, is one of my favorite cities in the world. San Antonio Spurs, first-class organization. You hate to see them in this kind of predicament where Kawhi Leonard, who got hurt after Zaza Pachulia undercut him last year in the playoffs, game 1 of the conference finals. Sad to see Kawhi Leonard in this situation where he can't play, but even sadder that the reputation of the San Antonio Spurs has been brought into question. I hope they resolve it. I hope Kawhi Leonard actually stays, but I got to admit, with each passing day, it does appear more questionable as to whether or not Kawhi Leonard will end up staying in San Antonio. And I just don't see marquee free agents coming to San Antonio. Their definition of a marquee free agent was acquiring LaMarcus Aldridge, who, by the way, was a marquee free agent until he showed that he knows how to disappear come postseason time. Not to say that he'll do that this year, because he has looked better, and I'll give him credit where credit is due. But he's got to step up and make sure that what he's been doing this regular season, which has been tremendous, continues come postseason time. LaMarcus Aldridge can't disappear once the playoffs begin. It would be nice to see Kawhi Leonard out there. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. 888. Say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Another item I wanted to get into. This whole noise about Conor McGregor and that fiasco with him throwing a dolly at the bus, with this kid, Khabib. I forgot the pronunciation of his last name, but lightweight champion. Has wanted Conor McGregor for years. Conor McGregor supposedly has avoided him. He had a problem with how Khabib or somebody else reacted to one of his teammates. The man flew in a private jet from Ireland with a bunch of his buddies and tried to attack the guy. It's kind of phony on Conor McGregor's part. Here's what I mean by that. You know good and damn well if you didn't have that $100 million payday from Mayweather and those boys, you wouldn't have gotten a private jet and flew across the ocean. You know good and well you would not have done that. That's number one. Number two, I don't blame Dana White and those boys for being completely appalled by what we saw. From Conor McGregor. Having said all of that, ladies and gentlemen, I had to rethink it because initially I was appalled by Conor McGregor. I said, what a childish, stupid act, acting like a hooligan. Control yourself. But then I watched Floyd Money Mayweather get interviewed by Jim Gray Saturday night with his big red Christmas hat on. And Floyd Money Mayweather talking about how he wants to come back in the octagon. Can we stop this nonsense? First of all, you didn't want to get hit when you were boxing. So why would you want to get hit in the octagon? From 10-inch gloves to 8-inch gloves to 4-inch gloves in the UFC. There is only one reason why Floyd would be talking about coming in the octagon, because he is all about his money. And another 9-figure payday ain't gonna hurt him. There is only one reason why Floyd Money Mayweather would be talking about coming back to fight in the octagon. It would be to fight Conor McGregor. And ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you why Floyd Money Mayweather would have a chance in that fight in the octagon. That's right, I said it. 888, say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. I'll explain exactly what I'm talking about in a minute with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
ESPN Radio, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, is presented by Progressive Insurance, cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. Here is why Floyd Money Mayweather would have a chance against Conor McGregor. I want to reiterate this very important point. Under no circumstances am I saying if I think that Floyd Mayweather will beat him. I think that Conor McGregor would take him out inside of one round. But this is the reason why I give Floyd a better chance in the octagon than I gave Conor in the ring against Floyd. Conor McGregor doesn't want to choke you out. He doesn't want to hyperextend your arm, your shoulder, or your elbow or something. He doesn't want you to tap out. He doesn't want to choke you. He wants to knock you out. That means Conor McGregor wants to use his hands. He barely wants to kick you. He can do all of these things, but he barely wants to do that. What Conor McGregor wants to do is to use his fist and put you to sleep. That's what he wants to do. And when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, don't we all know who the superior foe is? What I'm saying to you is that, unlike anybody else who would go right after Floyd Money Mayweather's legs, get him to the ground, elbow him, body slam him, choke him, whatever the case may be, Conor McGregor is the one guy that literally would try and square up with him and try to knock him out with his fist first. Now, here's the difference. Once Floyd dropped him, remember, this ain't boxing where you got to get up inside of 10 seconds. No, Conor could lay on the ground. You still got to come get him to finish him off. This isn't boxing. So Conor McGregor will want to come on the ground and get me. Be my guest. You'd have no shot. So again, Floyd would lose. But the reason why I would give him a shot is because I don't think that Conor would just try to grapple him, wrestle him, choke him. He'll actually try to throw punches first. And that's when it would be a problem. That's all I'm saying. That's the only circumstance under which Floyd would have a chance. But that's a hell of a lot better than Conor had with 8-ounce gloves in a boxing ring, unable to do any kicks, elbows, or anything else. That's all I'm saying. 888-SAY-ESPN. Back to the phones we go. James in Queens, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, James, real quick.
What's up, Steve? Listen, I'm a Yankee fan, but I disagree with a lot of the Yankee fans right now about Stanton. They're all saying, don't worry, he's going to adjust. It's the cold weather. The bats will get hot. Fact of the matter is, no one really knows what's going to happen. I mean, the kid has hit 270 career home runs, and these pitchers were bringing it to him both games, knowing that he was brought there to hit home runs. I think he'll have a great season, but A-Rod was a heavy hitter, and he had a lot of trouble in the postseason too, so I think there needs to be a lot more concern.
Well, I would tell you this. Right now, I'm more concerned about Stanton in the regular season. He's already struck out 20 times in 10 games. He's already had 2 games where he struck out 5 times in 1 game. He's done it twice. I'm more concerned about that, but I appreciate the call, James. Thank you so much. I'm much more concerned about that. Jordan in Washington, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Jordan.
Hey, nice to talk to you again, Stephen. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Thank you.
A statement, then a quick point statement. Back in 2001, back in '96, I am a huge AI fan, still is. I'm sad he didn't get a championship. I thought they were going to take it that year. That first game, I was bogey big time. But they ended up losing, and I was sad, but I remain a fan, still a fan of Philly, and I hope they do a great job this year. Second point, because of Coach D'Antoni's past and him having really great seasons like he did with Phoenix, the more pressure is put on James Harden to try to perform and deliver this year. So I'm just thinking that I feel the pressure because Durant already got one. He got his one last year, regardless how he got one. The pressure's on James Harden a little bit more.
The pressure's on James Harden. Gotcha. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. I don't know. I'd lean towards Durant, but I understand your point about James Harden. Nelson in Virginia, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Nelson, go ahead.
How you doing, Stephen? Love what you're doing. Keep it going.
Thank you.
I have a question about the New Orleans Pelicans. I want your opinion on LeBron James going to the Pelicans with that lineup with DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, Nikola Mirotic, and Drew Holiday.
What about it?
I want to get your opinion. I know it probably won't happen, but if he was to go, I think that would be a great team.
If who was to go? LeBron to New Orleans?
Yes.
Ain't happening. From what I'm told, it'll be L.A., Houston, or remaining in Cleveland. Can't see that happening. Never heard New Orleans, and I think that eventually Anthony Davis is going to be trying to leave New Orleans. A lot of people ain't that hyped about New Orleans. I like New Orleans, great city, but a lot of people ain't that hyped about it. Something to consider. Just got to think about it. JP in Brooklyn, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, JP. Go ahead. Only got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Stephen, thanks for having me. Now, my question for you is, who's under pressure with the Garden? You know, will James Dolan fire Jeff Haas, the coach?
Nobody's under pressure, JP, because it's James Dolan's call.
Okay,
he don't care.
He did with the Rangers. He had no problem getting rid of a coach who's been winning the past 5 years, who's been in the playoffs.
Yep.
He had no problem getting rid of this guy.
JP, do me a favor, because I like you, and I want you to call back tomorrow when we have more time to talk, because I got to get on out of here, and I understand your point, and it's a poignant question. But nevertheless, James Dolan is the billionaire owner. And the fact of the matter is, he doesn't have to do anything. He never feels compelled to do anything. That's part of the problem. We'll talk again in 22 hours. Until then, this is Stephen A. Smith signing off. Peace and love, and thank you, Houston and San Antonio.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.